Hey, what's going on, everybody? How are you? Duke Baxter, Steve Nicorak. We're at Zone Sports Academy. We're getting ready to dominate the diamond with you guys. We have some really good topics. We have some fun things to talk about. We had a long weekend, a lot of games, so we really look forward to hearing from you. How'd the weekend go? What were some of the struggles that you had with either umpires or players or parents? Because we sure saw some, and we're really looking forward to hearing some of those. Coach Steve, you ready for today or what?
Yeah, you guys drive the show as always, so definitely keep the questions coming. Like Duke always says, leave a comment in the comment section on where you're coaching, what age you're coaching, and any questions you guys have throughout the show, we'll be sure to get to them.
Always make sure if you like something that we answered, make sure you give us a thumbs up, throw some hearts on there. We really like those. And if you have an answer for one of the coaches that's asking a question or something that you do that you really like, be sure to add that in the comment. So we're all here to help each other out. So I think back to yesterday, and one of the things that really stands out for me was we were playing a doubleheader. The games were going well. We won the first game. We were winning the second game. And then all of a sudden, the other team, right, the parents were getting on the umpire from right behind home plate. And this young guy was calling balls and strikes, doing fine all game. And all of a sudden, it was like, come on, Blue, why are you calling that? That was too low. That was too high. And what happened was all the kids all of a sudden stopped swinging. They were like watching a strike. The next one was here. They watched a strike, and they took on the body language of the parents. The kids are putting their hands up, and they hadn't done this at all for the previous 11 innings, right? They weren't striking out. They were putting the bat on the ball, and all of a sudden, 3 guys in a row strike out looking, and I think they only swung one time. I think it was the second batter that swung once. And it was just, coaches, let's play the game. And please make sure you're kind of talk to the parents about what's good and what's not acceptable. You're not helping the team. You're not helping the hitter that's hitting. And you're really not helping anybody just being a negative parent, heckling the umpire. And the game really turned sour really quickly. So that was just something, it was just something that, man, looking back at it this morning, you know, I wanted to talk about it, write about it, because it was just, everything was going so good. The other coaches were cool. The kids, like, everything was going well. And all of a sudden it was like they were bitter, complaining about stuff. And all of a sudden you see the kids like making excuses, talking to and I'm like, how fast? So parents, it's not just what you say, it's what you do, right? You can say be respectful, but if you're behind the home plate umpire and you're heckling them, guess what? That's not being respectful. And then guess what the kids are gonna do? The same exact thing. So we ended up winning. But we really talked to our team about it, and I just wanted to discuss that because I think it's our job as coaches to be able to keep our parents accountable. What do you think, Coach Steve?
No, definitely, 100%. I think, you know, coaches, we have to keep our parents accountable, and just like Duke said, the kids are gonna follow our lead, right? So how many times do you get to the field and, you know, kids are throwing equipment and arguing balls and strikes, and they just have bad attitudes, but then you look at the coaching staff and they're a direct replica of them. You know, they're not going to follow what we say, but they're going to follow our body language and our actions, just like Duke said. You know, that's something we go over on day one. We have a player-parent meeting on day one. We talk about our rules, our expectations. One thing we talk about is the standards that we're gonna live up to. Not really rules, we're not too strict, but we're going to play the game hard. We're going to be on time, and we're always going to respect our teammates, the opposing team, the coaching staff, and the umpires. And that's just the way we're going to do things. And if we don't, then unfortunately you're going to have to sit for an inning and hopefully learn your lesson. And, you know, if it continues to happen, then maybe it's a conversation you have to have with the player and the parents. But that's something that needs to be, you know, nailed out on day one, that this is how we're going to approach this season. But, you know, we also have to lead by example as coaches. And like Duke said, have that conversation with the parents ahead of time.
So it looks like we have some, you know, in the comments, there's a lot of coaches that are entering their first tournaments, right? They're getting ready. Spring ball slowly finishing up. We're getting ready to go into the summer. We're getting ready for our first tournaments. So guys they know who pitches. They know where, you know, who are their 1-2 guys are. But Coach Jason says, you know, going into our first ever tournament in about a week, what's a good strategy on utilizing pitching? You know, what are we going to do this weekend? You know, are we going to throw our best guys first? Or are we going to kind of hold off on them? You know, I think there's a lot that goes into that.
That's a tough one. It's something that I do every weekend, right? So you're looking at the upcoming weekend. You know, I think it's important to look at the rules first. What are the pitching restrictions and guidelines? You know, take a look at your schedule. Maybe you're playing, you know, 2 games on Saturday and then playoffs on Sunday. You know, you have to get to the playoffs first. And I think that's one mistake too many coaches make too often, is they try to save their best arms for that championship. But if you don't get there and you leave that guy on the shelf, it can be frustrating. You know, so take a look at your schedule, take a look at your game times. Be sure to look at the pitching restrictions. Now, that being said, I wouldn't throw a kid out there. You know, if there are no rules, I definitely would not have a kid throw on back-to-back days. You know, sometimes there'll be a rule, you know, if it's 25 pitches or less, they can come back the next day. But we as coaches have to understand that 25 pitches might not seem like a lot, but when you add the 15 to 20 pitches they threw in the warm-up, right now we're at 40, 45 pitches. Then you add up our regular throwing program before the game. Then you add up the kid playing shortstop for a couple innings before he goes into pitch. That's a lot of throws that player is making. So just be aware of how many throws they're making in pregame, in between games, in their warm-up session. Don't just count the pitches they throw on the mound. So I think, you know, rule number 1 for us is we never try to go, especially this early in the season, back-to-back days for younger players. I think, do you have an age on there? No, we didn't have an age on there for Coach Jason, but take a look at the tournament schedule. I always try to take a look at who we're playing, you know, just to kind of get a feel for, all right, this is going to be, you know, a tough competitor, or we should beat this team if we play well. Maybe I can save so-and-so for tomorrow. But I think, you know, first tournament, you want to throw out, you know, some good pitchers and try to set the tone for the upcoming year. You got to understand that teams are going to you know, the further you get into tournaments, the less and less arms every team's going to have, right? So you got to get there first and hopefully figure it out once you get there. I've been in championships before where we go out for ground rules, and I introduce myself to the other coach, and they have no arms left either. And that's just, you know, you got to figure it out and throw somebody out there that really hasn't pitched much. But you got to get there first. You know, first tournament, you know, go in there, have fun with it. You know, check out the rules, check out your schedule, but definitely be cautious in terms of pitch counts and, you know, how many throws your players are making in between games.
So this happened in our game, and I'm going to even ask Coach Steve to fault to him, because I'm not even sure the answer. This has never happened in all the years I've coached, played. I'm going to give the exact demonstration, and I want you coaches to weigh in on this. So this is what happened. 11U. Here's the baseline right here. The player's running down the line. He's running down. He touches the base. He breaks down. The first baseman pulled his foot off the bag. The player thought he was out. Their coach thought he was out. The umpire goes like this. He points and does this. So we knew he pulled his foot. Didn't say anything, still just did that. The player then starts to walk off the field. We're then yelling, tag him, tag him, tag him. The first baseman tags him. The umpire calls him out. Okay, now, we know that when you run down to first base, if you don't attempt to go to second, right, you can run straight through the bag, you can run all the way down there, you can peel off to the right, you can even turn this way towards the field, as long as you don't attempt to go. So the batter didn't attempt to go. So the question is, you know, is he out? You know, at what point is he too far off the field or into the field? That sort of thing. So we tagged him. Their coach didn't really argue, but I walked over to him afterwards and was like, man, like, okay, he's out, but at what point is he like out of the baseline, or is it too far to then be tagged out? Because there was a runner on first as well that was now on second, and we were like, everything happened so fast to where, you know, he's not out until the umpire just called him out real fast. As soon as he tagged him, he called him out, but I don't think he was really out. Yeah. You know, it was an interesting situation that I've never really seen before.
I think it's going to come down to just the umpire's discretion in that play. We played 2 weeks ago, similar situation. Our base runner ran straight through. He turned to his left, not in an attempt to go to second, literally just to turn around. He took his elbow guard off, went to hand it to me coaching first. and their coach is going nuts, tag him, tag him, tag him. But he never made an effort. He was just walking back to the base. And the umpire's, explanation was he turned left, but he turned left to go back to the bag. So I think as a coach, coaching an offense, I always tell our guys to turn right. This way you don't put it up, to the umpire's discretion. But I think it's a play-by-play basis. Without seeing it, it's kind of hard to tell for me. But I think you guys did the right thing, tagging him out. You always got to try to make the out, and let the umpire make the call.
Yeah, So that was an interesting call. And I think it's tough at that age to really argue, right? Like they're 11, but you still want, there's still rules,
yeah.
Right? So sometimes you're arguing it, but the umpire doesn't really know the rules. So you're arguing to, it's like, So Coach Bear's got a question. Coaching 13U softball. How can we get our girls to adjust quicker from faster to slower? And, we see that all the time right now. Girls and guys that are playing travel ball, and all of a sudden they go into high school ball, and there's all different levels of pitching at high school. There's some girls and guys that are throwing lollipops, and then there's other guys that are throwing 91. They go from 91 to 81 to 61, and it's trying to get them. And the same exact thing in softball is the same exact thing. You have some slower pitchers, and then you have faster pitchers. How do you adjust and help your hitters with that? And I think we show it almost every week because everyone has that same question with the three plate drill.
Yeah, Rick, before we show Dom, I think we have the 3-plate drill on there that we can show. But before that, I don't know if you guys saw the other night, Mike Trout, he's playing for the Angels, and he hits a home run off a 92-mile-an-hour fastball. Later on in the game, the Angels were up big, so the team they were playing brought in a position player to throw, and he was throwing 54 miles an hour. Like absolute lollipops. Mike Trout hits another homer. So the guy that posted the video said, there's no excuse for this pitcher's throwing too slow.
I wish I would have saw that.
Yeah, it's just, you watch the frame by frame of Mike Trout, and his swing and his load and everything was exactly the same. I think too often, Dom, I'm going to just switch to the middle camera here. You hear coaches say, sit back, he's throwing slow. But for me as a coach, I always teach our players, just start later, right? You watch Mike Trout, and he always has his hands up high, he has that little leg kick. It was the exact same rhythm on the 92-mile-an-hour fastball and the 54-mile-an-hour fastball, and they both went 400 feet. The only difference was, against the guy throwing 92, Mike Trout started his load when the pitcher broke his hands and started coming forward. Against the guy throwing 54, Mike Trout started his load when the pitcher got here, but his rhythm never changed. So I think it's important that we as coaches always tell our players, there's nothing wrong with sit back or get up in the batter's box. Those are all little adjustments that you can make, but your rhythm should never change. And what I mean by that is, if you're in there and you're getting ready to hit and the pitcher's throwing really fast, that doesn't mean we have to go fast too. We just have to start a little sooner. Or vice versa, the kid's throwing too slow. No, we just want to start later. I'm a big believer in visualization, timing it up. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got was Oppo Gap Timing. My coach in college used to say it to us all the time. So Oppo Gap Timing meant for me as a right-handed hitter, I was timing this pitcher up to drive something to the opposite gap, which was right center field. Didn't mean I was aiming it that way. It didn't mean I was trying to inside out it or push it the other way. But my timing when I was in the batter's box, when I started my load, visualization, I was trying to drive the ball to the opposite field gap. And that for me helped see it deeper, let the ball travel a little bit longer. I was able to stay on it. It kept me through it. Because I think what happens, you see players facing 55 miles an hour and all of a sudden it turns into home run derby, right? We're going to just try to tee off and the kid's throwing lollipops and then everybody's way out in front. But the issue is that they start at the same time. So then they start, they stop, and then they sit there and wait, and there's that big hesitation in there. So I think visually, timing-wise, those are two good examples, but we're going to play the 3-plate drill that I did with one of our softball players that I love. All right, coaches, we have what's called the 3-plate drill here. Okay, you can see on the ground we've got 3 plates, and they progressively get a little bit closer to that coach doing front toss. This is a great drill to work on timing, to work on our rhythm, and for a lot of our players, you'll see when they face faster pitching, they get rushed and they get jumpy. When they face slower pitching, they can't stay back long enough and they're diving out at the ball. So what Sage is going to do is she's going to start here at this first plate. she's going to take 3 swings. This would simulate either a slow pitcher or a pitcher that's throwing a lot of change-ups. Then she's going to work up to the middle plate and take 3 swings. That would simulate our average pitcher, you know, kind of just average fastballs that we're used to seeing. And then she's going to slide up to the first plate, the furthest one away, the closest one to the pitcher, and it's going to simulate somebody throwing really hard. Now for me as a coach, I'm going to throw the ball or flip the ball at the exact same speed. So nothing's going to change with my flips. It's just going to determine whether or not she's getting loaded on time. So get your stance for me real quick, Sage. Now when Sage gets loaded, you're just going to do your load and freeze. You can see it's nice and controlled. It's just smooth, and she's getting to a good launch position. Now the key is she wants to repeat that load and keep that rhythm regardless of what plate she's at and regardless of how fast the pitcher's throwing. The way we do that is, when do we start our load? Okay, so do we start when the pitcher first starts moving? Do we wait until that ball's on its way to home plate? Well, it's all going to determine on the player's windup, the speed of the pitch, and how fast she wants to get going. But we never want to get rushed. We never want to get jumpy. We want to keep that same rhythm, keep that same load and timing. And this is a great drill to simulate that in practice. Right through the middle of the field. Good. One more. Good. Now we're going to slide up. Good. Awesome. So she just did a really good job there on the fast pitcher. She did a pretty good job at the average pitcher, but you're a little early on the slower run, right? So she's going to go back to that first plate here. We're going to do it one more time. And Sage, all I want you to do is start a little bit later. Okay, start a little bit later, and let's really think top of the screen here. Good adjustment right there. It was much better right there. So Coach, that's a challenging drill. It's a really good one for your players to see different pitch speeds. You know, obviously.
So that's a good one right there, just to show the timing, show the rhythm. Using the 3 plates is a big help in terms of, you know, coaches not having to go back to the mound and try to throw from different speeds. So it's just messing with their timing a little bit. You can have them go 3, 3, and 3, and then back to the beginning, 2, 2, and 2. But it's important that as a coach, when you're doing front toss, that you make sure you throw at the same speed. This way it's going to work on 3 different types of pitchers.
We got a good question from Coach Ortega, coaching 8U in Santa Fe, New Mexico. What are your thoughts on player pitching at this age versus machine pitching? I think using a machine only slows down, you know, developing their arms, thoughts. I don't know. I mean, at 8U, by having the machine on there, you're getting the kids to swing, you're getting them to hit the ball, you're keeping the game moving, you know, in a faster pace. So I think there's some pros and some cons. Yes, you're not teaching the pitchers how to throw. They're not throwing yet, but you can still do that in practice. You can still do that, you know, on the side. So they're still throwing. You can do tracking drills with them. They can still throw to catchers. But I think that, you know, having the machine is not a bad thing because it does keep the game moving. And for many of you that have seen an 8U game, there's a lot of balls, there's a lot of walks. Trying to keep the players engaged, trying to keep it moving is really challenging at 8 years old. So I don't think using a machine, you know, it really is a bad thing. And I think a way to, you know, to keep the pitcher's arms is to be able to, you know, is to throw them, you know, throw them an inning, have them throw 25 to 40 pitches, you know, during practice and stuff like that. So that way they're still getting a chance to pitch, so they're not losing arm strength or anything like that.
And I've seen some leagues where, you know, they'll do player pitch, but after four straight balls in a row, or maybe after 2 walks in a row, they bring in a coach to throw, or they bring in the pitching machine, just so you're getting a little bit of both. Because I think, like Duke said, the key is keeping the game moving. There's nothing more boring than a pitcher going out and walking 6 guys in a row. Nobody's getting the hit. The defense isn't getting their work in, and it just turns into a merry-go-round. So, like Duke said, there's pros and cons to both. Maybe doing a little bit of a hybrid where they're doing both. The pitcher gets an opportunity to throw, you know, and if not, then there's a coach pitch or a machine pitch. But keeping the game moving, keeping the action, you know, moving throughout the game is so key to keeping their focus and keeping the kids in the game.
Definitely. We got a question here. If my 12-year-old pitchers are in practice, how many pitch maximum would be the best? I would say almost like an inning, like 25 to 40 pitches. You know, have them warm up with a coach. And, you know, 25. I mean, I don't think that there's a right or a wrong answer to this one, but my gut just says 25 to 40 is a good number.
Yeah, and just how much did he throw last weekend? Is he planning on pitching the upcoming weekend? You know, a good midweek bullpen session, like Duke said, is about 25 pitches. So maybe your son threw last Saturday, you have practice on Wednesday, and they're planning on pitching him again on Saturday. There's no reason to go crazy. I think it's more of just a touch and feel, get the arm moving, maybe work on the 4-seam, the 2-seam, the changeup, maybe work on a few things that he struggled with the previous weekend, and then just roll right from there. But I think any midweek bullpen just to keep the arm fresh and keep the arm strength there is good.
So we had a question come up on our Facebook page, and we also got emailed this question, and it was from an 11-year-old coach saying that every time he plays his buddy, they get into a game and a challenging situation comes up for him. There's a runner on third base, he's on defense, and if the pitcher walks the batter rounds first and just keeps on running. He goes, how in the world do I stop this without giving up a run? Like, what do we do? We're always stuck. So what I'm just going to show you a little something that you know, that you can do that will really help. So number one, we did this with our 11U team I think a week ago, because some coaches just do this, right? So the first thing we did was we let it go for about 15 minutes, and we said, okay guys, we're going to play offense versus defense. Okay, what we're going to do is, this is the situation. Coaches, we're not going to say anything, and the defense had to try to get outs. The offense had to try to score the run. The defense had to get outs, and we wanted to see if the players themselves could figure out what the best formula would be. So 7 times in a row, they couldn't figure it out. Then they kind of got on the mound, and we had to interject a little bit to help them. And one of the things that was happening was the catcher was getting the ball, checking the runner, and holding it. He was holding the ball, and when the batter rounded first and took off, the throw now is so long to second base that it was easy for the runner. And then he actually threw it to first base sometimes. But the second the first baseman got the ball and went to throw it back to the pitcher, the runner would take off anyway, so it's almost like the same exact situation. So what we did was we had the catcher catch it, we had him look at the guy on third and just fire it back to the pitcher. Now the ball's halfway. Once the pitcher got the ball, he had to look at third, and then he would fire the ball to the second baseman coming up the line. Now when the second baseman catches it, the runner is stuck between first and the second baseman. Not second base, the second baseman. So when the second baseman had the baseball, his eyes can see if the guy on third breaks, and now it's so short that it's just a tag out. So once he rounds first, the pitcher checked third, gunned it to the second baseman, he tagged him, and it stopped the runner from third base. Now, if there's 2 outs, the key to this is have your players just get this out, and that runner can't score. Okay, if there's no outs or 1 out and you're really worried about that, you can have the pitcher check the runner at third and pretend like he's gonna throw it to the second baseman. That's gonna get the guy on third to bite down, you throw it, and then you can get him out. So the key is to get the catcher to get the pitcher the ball as soon as possible. So now he's in control. I can check, boom, I can fire it to the second baseman, and that slows everything down, and it will definitely work. Try that out, and I'm sure your team will be able to stop that. So that was just something that we wanted to talk about, because, you know, half of the guys are like, oh, that's a Bush League play, why would you do that? That's fine. You know, maybe it is a Bush League play, but if it happens, as a coach, we have to try to be able to stop it, and that's one of the ways that we use. The younger they are, and if the second baseman can't make some of those decisions, well, guess what? You get the pitcher the ball, you have him turn, and you just have him fake, and then you have him look at third, and you try to, you know, because then you really can't, you know, that play won't work as well. So that's, you know, that's one of the topics that one of the questions that we had got asked, and, you know, kind of put that together And we'll actually make a video and post it for you and kind of do I think a whiteboard will be good too, to kind of give you a better visual of it. But, you know, so that's that.
I think trying to simulate that in practice is huge too.
Yeah.
Because if you just get to the game, some coaches love to create, you know, panic for the defense. So they'll just send kids, and knowing that they're going to exploit some kids that don't really know how to play catch or don't have the arm strength, they're just going to try to take advantage of the defense. So work on it in practice. Have base runners, you know, just tell them free reign today at practice. Do whatever you want. Try to cause a balk. Try to go home to second. Do whatever you want, and let's see if the defense can control the baseball. The more you can get those kids used to it in practice, I think then it comes into the game, and it's so easy if you can just control the ball on defense. And it's easier said than done, but practice situation, you know, if you can control the ball and play catch and not fire balls all over or really panic, remember, we have the ball. So, you know, they might try to cause chaos, but as long as we can control it, you know, we're going to catch teams doing some silly things base running wise throughout the year if we can just control it, play catch, and not panic. Panic is, you know, where errors happen, where balls start flying, and then, you know, offenses just really just start running the bases like crazy, and, you know, you can see the players on the field get nervous.
Another one of the topics, and we like to talk about this a lot too, is you know, coaches' pocketbook, coaches' notebooks, making sure that you coaches out there are always go to the field with some sort of notepad. This we got from Always Grind. We have these on our website. We have player hitters notebooks. We have pitchers notebooks. We have catchers notebooks. So after a pitcher's done throwing, he can go into his little notebook, write down what he did, how he felt, what pitches were working for him. We'll also have one for the hitters. They can write down their at-bats. They can write down, you know, how they did, how they felt. Because and one of the reasons is because we had a player yesterday, and this guy, you know, this kid, he's 11, and he laced 3 line drives. He laced a line drive at the shortstop, it got caught. He ripped a line drive to the third baseman, it got caught. And then he hit a really good ball to right center field with 2 guys on, and we were like hoping it was good, and it got caught. So 0 for 3. You know, it's so easy just to put your head down like you had a horrible day, you know, it was a bad day, and really, he had 3 awesome line drives that a half an inch this way, a half an inch that way. If he was playing over there, that's just part of the game. So I think as coaches and as parents especially as well, not just, oh, you went 0 for 3 today. It's about having good quality at-bats. Wow, man, you really ripped those 3 balls. Good job today. It's not about how many hits you got necessarily. It's, you know, sometimes we are going to rip the ball and it's going to get caught. You know, and that's our job on defense, is to try to rob the other team from getting hits. So I made it a point when the game was over, we won both games, just to say that, and I saw that player kind of lift his chin back up and kind of throw his shoulders back like, I did have a good game. You know, but it's easy to beat ourselves up if, you know, if we don't get hits, or, you know, our team's winning and we don't feel like we're contributing. But so we actually pulled out, which you guys will all see in our mental conditioning course that we're going to hopefully be launching next week. It's a quality at-bat chart, and we had it on the fence, and it has all the different quality at-bats, and then it has all the players. And you write in when your at-bat's over, you know, did you walk? Did you have an 8-pitch at-bat? Did you hit a line drive? Did you this, that? All the things that make up a good quality at-bat. And you add them all up, and you'll see some players that went over but had 3 good quality at-bats. You know, maybe one was a sacrifice bunt that scored a run. Maybe it was a sacrifice fly that scored a run. And you got hit in the ribs, stole second and third, and you scored a run. Like, you know, you're 0 for 0, but you scored twice, you drove in a run, and you had a huge impact. So sometimes players don't see the benefit of what they did, so we need to be able to show them. So the quality at-bat chart is something that's huge. And getting the parents to understand that as well, not, oh man, my son didn't get any hits, or oh, you look at the batting average and oh, you went from 300 to 260, and you're just like throwing the whole batting average in their face, opposed to really knowing what made up a quality game.
Yeah, and I've had good players come in and, you know, they go 0 for 3, 0 for 4 with 4 lineouts, and their parents are like, oh, I think they just got to hit the ball a little bit higher, you know, those will be, no. Like, if you go 0 for 4 with 4 lineouts, you are doing something right, and you're hitting the ball hard and you're on time. So, you know, don't go into panic mode where it's a swing problem.
You know, those hits always even out. I call them the average savers. Throughout the year, you're going to get a couple bloop hits. You'll get an infield single here and there. Those numbers are going to take care of themselves. But if you just go up there with that good approach every single time, I'm going to be on time, I'm going to hit the ball hard in the middle of the field, don't even worry about the numbers. And it's easier said than done. But when you focus on the quality at bats versus the batting average, like Duke said, it takes all the pressure off you, right? What can I do to help my team win today? You know, that might be bunting a runner over. It might be, you know, getting to an 0-2 count and making the pitcher throw 8 more pitches before I strike out. It might be, you know, getting a sacrifice down, sac fly, moving a runner over. All those things are big contributors to helping your team win. It's not necessarily how many hits did I get today.
Yeah.
I had another kid the other day came in and told me he hit a homer. I was like, oh, nice. First one over the fence. He's like, no, it was a ground ball to the shortstop, and the shortstop threw it over the first baseman's head, and the right fielder got it and threw it over. So it wasn't even a hit, let alone a homer, but, you know, kids go in there and they get so fired up, they thought they hit a home run. Meanwhile, it was an E6 with 4 other errors. He did get 4 bases. It wasn't a homer, but, you know, that's just, you know, the way kids think. Or they'll say, oh, I hit the ball, you know, 3 times. I was 3 for 3.
Yeah. Yes.
We got a really good one here from Coach Conrad. 9 and 10 Little League, travel in middle school. Bunting is a big thing that seems to be going untaught. What are your best bunting drills for how to teach? All the questions I ask, more to make sure I'm teaching the proper mechanics. Awesome, Ryan, really good one. I'm gonna grab a bat here, and I'll just hop on this middle camera. It's funny because I didn't really bunt a ton in my life either, and when I got drafted in 2012, you know, I batted third all through college, and maybe a couple sacrifice bunts here and there. And we got out to spring training and everybody bunted. And our coach's explanation was, you know, you might be batting third in college, you might be batting third in single A, but you might get to the big leagues one day and be batting ninth and need to get a bunt down. And we had to practice bunting every single day before we even got to take our front toss or do our tee work. And he actually gave us an example of a guy that made it all the way up, batted 8th, and got a sacrifice bunt down in his first major league at bat. So it was pretty cool. It was something that they took pride in, and I think that you know, every player should know how to bunt, because it's part of the game that, you know, you need to know how to do. So what I always tell our guys, I don't have a home plate here, but I like to get up on the plate and I like to get up in the batter's box. So what I'll do from this position, I get to my normal stance, and depending on the situation, whether I'm trying to bunt for a hit or bunt for, you know, a sacrifice. If I'm bunting to sacrifice a runner over, I'm not trying to hide it. If I'm trying to bunt for a hit and, you know, maybe I'm a leadoff guy, in that situation I might try to hide it a little bit more. But what I'll do is I get up on the plate, I move up in the batter's box, and if I'm sacrificing, all I'm going to do is I'm going to get out to my launch position nice and wide. I'm going to pivot on my back foot, and I'm going to try to split the bat into thirds. So I'm almost giving like a thumbs up sign here. I'm going to go right about the logo of the bat. I'm going to take my bottom hand and kind of go to the top of the grip, and I'm going to preset my angle. So my angle right now would be to bunt the ball to third base. Let's say it's first and second, nobody out. I'm trying to bunt the ball to the third baseman to advance the runners from first and second to second and third. So I get to this position, I make sure that I have good coverage. So the end of my barrel is covering the outer portion of home plate. Once I get here, I'm nice and athletic. Now, one issue you'll see is a lot of players, when they go to bunt on a lower pitch, they do this. But I like being in this position here because I can move up and down in the strike zone with my knees. Right? I'm in here. Again, presetting my angle. I don't have to try to aim it or push it. I'm not trying to push it to first base. I preset that angle. I get nice and athletic here. Thumbs up position. And I'm working up and down right here. I'm trying to catch the baseball on the barrel. Not really giving with it. Right? I'm just thinking nice and soft with my hands. Preset my angle. If I'm trying to bunt to first base, I'm going to take this knob and I'm going to push it out towards the third baseman. And again, I'm in this position right here. My angle's preset, and I'm working up and down with my knees, watching the ball into my barrel. Too often kids will foul balls off, foul bunts. You know, they'll miss it or pop it up because they try to do this at the last second. They're trying to push it to first base. You know, the barrel drops and they pop it straight up in the air. So I think the biggest checkpoints are get up on the plate, make sure you have enough coverage, get up in the batter's box to increase your angles, preset, make sure we have a good grip on it, and be athletic. I want to be here so I can watch that ball into my barrel, use my body to work up and down in the zone, not just my hands. So Coach Conrad, I hope that helped. That is one thing that we always had to practice, especially in spring training. We always had to practice bunting.
And it's something that everybody should be able to
do. I know that we just added in on the bottom our free 7-day trial. So it has over 800 videos, probably 900 by now, 900 videos. We have our templates, our practice plans. We have a bunch of things that can really help you as coaches. The quality at-bat charts come into it. Everything and anything that we have, all of our courses, all of our drills, all of our templates, it's all in there, and you can get it 7 days for free. Click the link, and you know, we hope that helps everybody.
Coach Chris has a good comment there. I'll take the kids that put the ball in play over the kid that hammers it 1 out of 6 times. Yeah, that's such a good point there. And I think one thing that just similar to Coach Conrad, we don't talk about two-strike approach enough. I talk about it in all of my lessons, and I had a kid last week come in and he said, man, I've been striking out a lot. So first question to him was, all right, so how are the at-bats going before you get to 2 strikes? And I've been in slumps, Duke, you have too, where you feel like every time you get up there, it's an 0-2 count. So I'll ask him a lot, before you get to 2 strikes, what are you thinking up there? And he has a good approach. He's thinking fastball, but he's probably missing some pitches he should be hitting. Now, once you get to 2 strikes, regardless of what your approach is, I think most players get nervous. And with 2 strike counts, it's, I don't want to strike out, or I get defensive in there. And I had a coach one time tell me, instead of getting nervous or defensive, your 2 strike approach just needs to be, I'm going to get tougher. I'm going to get up on the plate. I don't care if I have to get hit by the ball, but I'm going to make this pitcher work to get me out right here. Right? I'm a big Yankee fan, so I watch Anthony Rizzo. He chokes up a ton on the bat. You know, he gets up on the plate and he just tries to fight, because there's nothing more discouraging to a pitcher than somebody that's up there and fouls off 6, 7 pitches in a row, you know, extends the at-bat. You know, our team motto is 1 more pitch, and it's 1 more pitch for a reason. How many pitches can you see with 2 strikes? You know, you foul off a good changeup and a good slider, maybe a fastball up in the zone, you foul it off. Eventually the pitcher's going to have to give in. And, you know, I think it's just a good thing to talk to your hitters about. With 2 strikes, we cannot just give up and get defensive and wave at anything close. All right, whether it's no stride or shortening up your stride, choking up on the bat, but really compete and get tough up there and see how many pitches you can see. I did it last week with our 11U team, our 12U team, I'm sorry. And I said, you know, I'll buy somebody, you know, Big League Chew at the snack shack in between games, whoever has the longest at bat. So all the kids are fired up. Second batter of the game gets up, 0-2 count. He fouled off 7 in a row and then smoked a line drive up the middle. And he looks at me at first base and he goes, nobody's beating that today. Like it just changed the whole you know, identity of the team. They were just so competitive up there with 2 strikes, and sometimes putting you know, something stupid like Big League Chew on the line for whoever can have the longest and most competitive at bat goes a long way.
That's good. That's good. Here we got one. I like this one. How to prepare mentally, because I'm nervous at the field, not because I'm scared of the ball, but I mostly anticipate the bad bounce, because I'm trying to predict where the ball is going to go if it's coming at me fast. Well, change your mindset to, instead of saying, I'm trying to not anticipate the bad bounce, instead say to yourself, I got to catch the good bounce. I'm going to work on catching the good bounce. And one of the ways that we like to teach is count the hops. When the ball's coming to you, try to watch the ball and count the hops. Every time it bounces, 1, 2, and then as you field the ball, say what hop that was. Because what that's going to do is going to help you get more aggressive. It's going to help you move through the ball. It's going to keep your feet moving. If your feet are moving and you're being more aggressive to the ball, it's going to help you so much more. If you're waiting and your brain's going, I have to anticipate the bad hop, that means you're almost like anticipating something bad's going to happen, opposed to making something good happen. So counting the hops is awesome. It gets you to be aggressive. It helps you keeping your eye on the ball, and it helps you move your feet to move through the ball, so you won't get as many bad hops. And realistically, bad hops are when we stop our feet and we let the ball play us, opposed to us moving our feet and we play the ball. So when you see the ball, you catch the hop that you want to catch. Don't stop your feet and wait for the ball to come to you. You go through the ball. I think that will help a lot.
Awesome. Coach Larry, hi coaches. Is there an age where players start being assigned to 1 or 2 positions on the field and build on playing those spots versus rotating? Yeah, I would say maybe 14U. Once the kids get to high school, you start to get
pushed into one specific position. I'm a big fan of having kids play all over the field at the younger ages, mainly just to build a better baseball IQ, have a better understanding of what each player is supposed to be doing, who's backing up what bases, what are my assignments on certain plays, because kids get so locked into, okay, I play shortstop, so this is my job on first and third, this is my job on cuts and relays or bunt defense. But if you can have players bounce all over, one, it's going to give them a better baseball IQ, and two, it's only going to make them more valuable as they get older. Right? If I can get to the field and I look at my coach and say, yeah, I can play anywhere in the infield, I can catch, I can play the outfield, that makes me more valuable. So I think bouncing them around all over the place at a younger age is huge. And then to specifically answer your question, I think once they get to high school, it's better to hone in on one. Instead of just being okay at a bunch of positions, maybe start to hone in on maybe one spot, and it might just be primary infielder. Doesn't mean you're just a shortstop, because you might have to play some third, you might have to play some second. If you're maybe a left-handed thrower, you can play first base or outfield. But I think one or two positions and really work at that as opposed to just doing everything. I would say probably the high school age.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, so pretty much that'll wrap up our show. That'll wrap up our show. What we'd love for you to do is, continue to add comments, because there's going to be a lot of coaches that are going to be watching this at a different time. We're going to be sending emails out. You can be able to watch it on our YouTube. Please go check out our YouTube, Dominate the Diamond. It's on YouTube. We have everything broken up. We have playlists on there. If you're looking for pitchers, if you're looking for catching drills, team drills, culture drills, we're really pretty much every other day, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we've been adding new YouTube videos on there just based on stuff that we've been doing in our lessons, things that, questions that have been coming in from coaches. We have some things called You Make the Call, and that's kind of like we talked about before with running to first base. Like, what do we do in that situation? Because there's a lot of things in the rule book that are so vague that coaches don't really know the answers. The umpires don't really know. So really understanding what some of those rules are. What's really a balk? What is a balk? What is the baseline? Like, you'll see a lot of cool videos on there that can really help you as a coach, because there's nothing worse than having something happen while you're coaching and not knowing what the real rule is. So you don't know if you can argue the call or contest the call or challenge the call if you're not really sure what happened. So I think that as coaches, that's something that's very important to be able to teach your players what the rules of the game are. So remember to stay positive. Remember to keep injecting positivity and energy and bringing that to the field every day. So Duke Baxter, Steve Nicorak at Zone Sports Academy. Always remember to go out and dominate the diamond. Coach Steve, all good?
All good. Thank you, guys. Good luck this week.
Thank you.